we would all, we're going to do the pledge now. I pledge allegiance. Good evening. The mission of the City School District of Albany is to educate and prepare all students for college and career, citizenship and life in partnership with our diverse community. We'll now hear from Dr. Wilkins for the superintendent's report.
Good evening. Thank you. We are expanding our Parent University schedule beginning this month to include several new programs supported by my Brother's Keeper Challenge grant. We will be adding Parent University programs for families at our 5 priority elementary schools, as well as Albany High, Hackett, West Hill Middle School, and family and students in grades 6 through 8 at North Albany Academy. These programs will address kindergarten readiness, helping your child read on grade level by 3rd grade, and supporting students in reducing behavioral challenges that can impact learning. We are finalizing the full schedule for March and April, so look for more information about programs being offered for each school in the very near future. These new parent and family engagement activities represent an expansion of our current Parent University programming, which features monthly meetings at each of our middle schools in the fall and spring semesters. This month's Parent University topic is yoga for beginners and relaxation tips. I think we all can use a few pointers along these lines, especially at this time of year. March is Music in Our Schools month, and we are looking forward to some exceptional performances by our very, very talented students. The annual All-City Band Concert is coming up next Wednesday, March 8th at Myers Middle School. The All-City String Concert is Wednesday, March 15th at Hackett Middle School. And the All-City Chorus Concert is Wednesday, March 22nd at Myers Middle School. So the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd of March, please get that on your calendar. It's Music in Our Schools Month. Again, All-City Concert, the 8th at Myers, All-String Concert on Wednesday the 15th at Hackett, and All-City Chorus Concert Wednesday, March 22nd at Myers again. All the performances begin at 6:30. Our Albany Marching Falcons also have 2 St. Patrick's Day parades scheduled Saturday, March 11th. The North Albany Parade is at noon that day, and the city's parade begins at 2 p.m. The annual New York State School Music Association Festival is set for the following Saturday, March 18th at Myers Middle School. This event allows our student musicians to have their music skills evaluated by a judge. Music in Our School Month wraps up with 2 performances at the Empire State Plaza Concourse. On Friday, March 24th, the Myers Select Chorus Jazz Band and Stage Band will perform at 12:30 p.m. The Hackett Chorus is scheduled to perform on Monday, March 27th at noon. As you can see, there's a lot going on for our student musicians this month. Please take an opportunity to support them by attending one or more of these really great events. March is also National Youth Art Month, and we have numerous students being recognized for their talents in this area as well. More than 300 pieces by district students from kindergarten through 8th grade will be on display in the South Concourse beginning tomorrow and continuing through March 9th. A reception honoring our student artists is scheduled a week from tonight, March 9th at 5:30 p.m. 9 Albany High students have had their artwork selected for regional shows. The 2017 Art in 3 Dimensions show at Mahonison High School, and the 2017 High School Regional Art Show at the Opelika Gallery at the Sage College in Albany campus. Sticking with our March theme, the annual ACC PTA Founders Day celebration and scholarship fundraiser is coming up on Friday, March 24th. It will be held at the Italian American Community Center on Washington Avenue Extension, beginning at 5:30. Now, Founders Day is always a wonderful opportunity to celebrate all the dedicated staff members, parents, and community volunteers who support our students in our schools in so many ways. The registration deadline for Founders Day is Friday, March 17th. Forms are available on the table here tonight, and also visit our district website. Finally, for my last item tonight, I want to recognize several Albany High student athletes who are heading to the state indoor track and field championships this weekend. For the girls' team, senior Eileen Paquette is qualified for states in 2 events, the 600 meters and the high jump. 6 members of our boys' team are heading to New York City this weekend, including senior Saeed Holscloth, who won the 300 meters at last weekend's state qualifiers. The boys' 4x2 relay also was victorious as qualifiers last weekend and will be competing at states. We wish all of our student athletes the very best this weekend, and again, go Falcons.
Thank you, Dr. Wilkins. We are now at public comment section, and is Mr. Murphy? I was going to say, is John going to speak at all?
Yes, we would like to bring to the mic the wonderful principal of this wonderful school of Philip Schuyler Achievement Academy, and that's Mr. John Murphy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Oh, good. Very good. It is so nice to have the opportunity to welcome you back to Schuyler Achievement Academy. This is either my 3rd or 4th time having the opportunity, and you know I've never met a microphone I haven't loved. So thank you. The task of a principal in a night like this is to not just welcome you, but also give you a sense of who we are as a teaching and learning community. And that's one of the things that as a principal here I'm particularly proud of. And normally we'd be talking about our data and our growth and the challenges that await us, but my learned colleague, Lori McKenna, will be talking about that through the 2nd quarter report of receivership, which I'm very proud of. So my task is to really give you a sense of who we are as a living organism and as a school. You'll have lots of data and lots of information on this screen tonight in all different areas. But I don't think you'll ever have anything as wonderful as the scenes of the children and the teachers and the parents that are on the screen as I speak to you. It represents the heart and soul of what goes on in this building every day. Still relatively new to Albany, folks I know from my past lives ask what it's like here. And I talk about Schuyler as being the best kept secret in New York State. Because while we have challenges, we also have the most outstanding teaching I've certainly ever experienced as a principal, as a teacher, as an employee of BOCES, or any other thing I've done. But with that comes a great challenge to use the data for our teachers to differentiate to the point where we're almost individualizing our instruction. And that is a tremendous amount of time and hard work on the part of our excellent instructors. But the other part of the challenge is to ensure that we are still creating an environment where students are known and celebrated, worried about, and loved. The pictures here tonight represent special events that we've done, whether it's Harvest Fest or ice cream socials or pizza events with parents. Yes, we do like food in the school. But they also represent the wonderful normalcy of the school. Classroom instruction, where teachers are teaching and children are learning, where students are presenting the information that they have worked on, their research brought to life in their own particular ways, the creations of their hands, or the movement of their bodies as they sing and as they dance. That's what the photos represent, but it also represents, again, the heart and soul of what we do here on a daily basis. Then there are the things that the photos cannot capture at Schuyler, and that's the warmth of human concern. We have a support center here that goes above and beyond. They are clinicians, they are experts, they are moms, they are sisters, They are coaches. They are all the things that a child needs them to be. And then there are teachers and staff members who understand particular needs that aren't always obvious and sometimes aren't easily shared by individuals. And then quiet little miracles occur here on a daily basis. For the child or the family that's cold, getting what they need. For the little boy in our kindergarten who had heart surgery this morning, or the 5th grade girl whose kidneys are in distress, or the teacher who lost her grandmother yesterday. And then the quiet and loving response that reflects the goodness of the individuals. We are second to none in our own particular way here. And I believe it represents the best part of who we are as a teaching and learning community and who we are as a public school district with a whole lot of heart. This is a wonderful school, and I wish everyone knew it in the same kind of a way that I do, because I'm often a pessimist. I was born to see things in the glass that is half empty instead of half full. And I walk around this building, and every day that I do, I am encouraged. Because my kids make fun of me. I tell them, no, I'm not touchy-feeling, we don't hug. And then every once in a while, those hugs appear. And smiles appear, and teasing appears, and sometimes laughter, sometimes some tears, but there is an understanding and a respect for the value of every person as an individual and what they bring here. To a world that can be cold and unwelcoming, for children in an ENL population that's exploding in our schools and in this school, we respond with warmth and acceptance and multicultural nights. To a special ed population, we celebrate the fact that we are all special and we are all unique and we all are differently abled in different kinds of ways. This is who we are at Schuyler. You'll see our data later and you will see that we are growing. And we are growing because these kids are working and these teachers are teaching and we are at it every day and committed to looking at it and being reflective practitioners and engaging the parents in every particular way. We have a homeschool coordinator who is second to none. We have social workers who know how to reach out, touch, and support. And we have a principal who is, I think, the best cheerleader in the school because these kids are wonderful and you have a right to be proud. So as you're here tonight discussing wonderful things that will impact the future of this district, know that you're in a very little school with a very big heart and a whole lot of soul and potential that's going to be realized in our scores and in our graduation rate. So welcome to SA.
Thank you. Now is public comment. Ms. Tibbetts, do we have a sign-in sheet? While I'm getting that, I will just read the board statement, which is probably going to have a new iteration soon, consistent with the board policy. The Albany Board of Education welcomes district residents, parents, students, and other people to our meeting. Community involvement at board meetings is encouraged so that we can better understand your views. Thank you. Please be aware that by law, individual student information or particular personnel issues cannot be discussed at public sessions of the board. When recognized by the board president, please state your name and city of residence. Statements are restricted to a maximum of 3 minutes, and speakers will be notified by the board president when their time has expired. We take public comment very seriously and careful notes will be taken. However, the board generally does not respond while the meeting is in public session. Retired First Sergeant Dennis Palo. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I'm First Sergeant Dennis Palo, and I teach at Albany High School, JRTC. I wanted to talk to you tonight about the drill league that we joined this year. The cadets show up to practice every morning from 7 to 7:40, Monday through Friday. We also practice during the breaks and on weekends sometimes. And the drill league is for the whole year. Well, this year we've been competing in getting first place, second place, and third place in all the events that we've been competing against. Several different schools in Massachusetts, New York, and sometimes we get nominated to go to other drill leagues, and we only get like 20 or 25 days notice. So you'll see a couple of paperwork coming through tonight, and hopefully you sign off on it. So I know if we do an overnight, I know it's a 45-day window to get approved, but if we get selected from a different drill league and go compete, like we're going down to Newburgh next weekend, and we wanted to do an overnight because Major and I are getting too old, and we have to show up at school at 5:30 in the morning on Saturday and take a 2-hour ride down there. So we're trying to see if we could put in notice 2 to 3 weeks and do an overnight. Also, we got selected to go to nationals this year. This is the first year that the cadets have competed in the drill, and it's phenomenal that we got selected by our brigade to go to nationals, which the kids will compete against hundreds of different schools. So hopefully we get school board support. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for your support.
And thank you. Mr. Sarwer?
Hi, how are you all? Thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak tonight. I have my proof of purchase, which is my 2 kids, one being Khalid and one Musa. They attend the Eagle Point Elementary School on Western Avenue, which is not far from the SUNY campus. I myself am a graduate from New Lebanon High School, which is about 30 miles from here, and attended college in SUNY Albany and St. Rose. What I'm here to speak about tonight is I'm a Muslim, and Masjid al-Salam, which is the mosque that I attend, is not too far from here. It's about 2 blocks on Central Avenue. And you may all know that in the city of New York, last year the mayor passed a resolution where he gave a day off for the Muslims' day of celebration, which was the Eid. I do understand that the School of Albany system is a very big system, and it's very hard to maybe accommodate such a request at this time, although there's a significant Muslim population in the city. But as you all know, a lot of refugees have came in from Syria, from Afghanistan, and other countries, in Iraq. And I myself recall going to school on holidays. My mother was very strict. Holidays was number 2, and school was number 1. So I did not really have the pleasure of celebrating holidays with the true spirit when I was a kid. So all that we are asking on behalf of the Muslim communities, if we can get excused absences. My son, Musa, I remember I did write a note to the school, and I think it says City of Albany strives for 9 days as a benchmark. But sometimes kids do get sick, and that number of absentees can go a lot. So we have 2 holidays in a year. We're asking if 2 excused absences, where the absentee does not get counted against the kids, be given. We would really appreciate that. That way the kids do not have to worry. I recall myself when there was an exam time, or when there was a special session or projects, and having to attend school on a holiday was not the best idea in the world. So if you can honor our request, we would be very appreciative. As of now, statistically speaking, we think we have about 80 plus Muslim students in the Albany High School. In my school, in Eagle Point Elementary School, I at least know of 10 kids which are from a Muslim background, but the city of Albany has numerous schools and a lot of Muslim students. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to talk, and thank you.
Mr. Haroon? Oh, there's the whole family. Okay. Dahlia Herring?
Well, given what I just heard, let me just say also, I think that would be a wonderful idea, at the very least. I mean, it would be nice, in fact, if it were official. I'm here as, well, the co-chair of the Refugee Roundtable, but also as a community activist, as you know. Mr. Hogan has noted that in the upcoming budget, there's now the opportunity of using community school funding for the newcomer school. Obviously, I'm delighted that that is a possibility. That being said, I believe we need both the establishment of the newcomer school and a vibrant start of community schools within our priority elementary schools and our alternative learning center. One should not be sacrificed for the other. Now, I know that's not in your intent, but I urge that you carefully and in detail look at the budget requests for both of these important initiatives, as well as continue to look at other parts of the budget for items that might be of somewhat lesser priority. And if you do so, I think you'll be able to craft a good balance in funding so that both the newcomer school and the community school initiative can thrive in the coming school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Herring. Mr. Wilson?
Good evening, all. I represent the Islamic community as a member also of. We want to thank all of you administrators for graciously allowing us to advocate on behalf of the Muslims' holiday, which is Eid al-Adha, which is the sacrifice, if you're not aware of it, of Ibrahim, the prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was asked to offer his son. And these are two very significant holidays for us. And the other one is Eid what's the other one? Eid al-Fitr. Eid al-Fitr. And this is when we perform, we perform the rites of Hajj. You see all the people gathering for Hajj. So we spoke with the mayor, and the mayor is also in agreement with us that we should be allowed for our students to have these holidays off like the other religions, And we're just advocating that we have this and they not be charged for it. And I don't want to take up too much of your time. And I want to thank you all for graciously allowing us to come in and speak to you administrators. And maybe we can do it again sometime soon. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. There is also, Mr. Sauer, another person. Did you want to speak, ma'am? Yes, please.
So my name is Wafia Server. It's on, I think. So Wafia Server, I'm also known as Dr. Server. I'm working as a primary care physician for St. Mary's in Amsterdam, and also working as a chairperson for ambulatory section, and also one of the board members for IHANI, which is known as Innovative Health Alliance of New York, and also requesting the same request, so it's nothing different, but I'm representing a different mosque, ICCD, which is in Schenectady. So I'm a resident in Schenectady. And one of the things is like understanding what Eid is like having your child go to school on a Christmas day. So it's counted against you. So if you have, for example, it does not make, it's not practical to have a school off on for number of those 2 days, but it's, I think, a very valid request to have at least an excused day, so don't have your children go through the same torture like a being child, similarly strict parents. I thought I will not be as strict as my parents and will allow, but I found myself even more. And with my background, you can say with education, now being a physician, I was very, very kind of serious with the education. And now my children also, I want them to follow the same kind of a path, but in a way where it's their excuse, not kind of accounted against them. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. Ms. Mally Saipos.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Catherine Malley-Sipos. I have a daughter at Albany High, and I live in the city of Albany. I went to Albany High School's website last night, and I printed up the list of clubs. At the top, it says Clubs, Activities, and Programs 2013-14. You heard me right, from the 2013-14 school year. Clearly, someone hasn't been keeping up with their job responsibilities, which reminds me, have we gotten a flow chart yet that clearly describes and outlines everyone's jobs responsibilities? On another link within the high school, you get a whole different list, and there are teachers that have been retired for 2-3 years. I decided to compare the 2013 list with the 2017 list posted in tonight's board docs, and here's what I found. 25 clubs no longer exist. It gets better. From July 2015 to January 31st, 2017, the document that you received for tonight's board docs, 12 clubs in nearly 2 years showed no activity. Do they even exist? Are people getting stipends to run these clubs? The flow chart you asked for would clearly help all of us understand better who is responsible for overseeing the clubs. By the way, Masterminds is not listed in January's list of clubs either, but I know it exists. Albany High is the hosting school for next Tuesday's regional event, and I hope that it will be recognized at the next board meeting. Model UN is not listed either, but I know it exists. The fledgling group hopes to go to Wheaton College April 1st. By the way, Model UN's paperwork lists the one line item, A2110-400-2928. And I'd like to get confirmation that this club, which used to travel all over the United States and Canada, still has more than $20,000 in its accounts. Mr. Hogan, please let us know. Tonight, you'll be asked to approve spending nearly $8,000 to fly 14 junior ROTC cadets and 3 chaperones to Louisville, Kentucky. I am interested in learning more about their line item, A2110-406-2929. I am not opposed to the discipline and high expectation ROTC offers. I am, however, concerned about the manner in which the board implemented this program mid-year with lightning speed. At this time, I respectfully ask the board to make public the entire financial history of the ROTC program. What have Albany taxpayers paid for, and exactly how much has the federal government reimbursed the Albany taxpayers for this program? I'm all about equity, transparency, and accountability, but there is a system-wide problem when 25 clubs no longer exist, and yet they're still listed on the high school website. There is a problem when another 12 clubs have never spent money or raised money in the past 2 years.
Ms. Malley-Sipos, if you could finish up, please. Time
Yes,
is
I
up.
have one sentence left. And there is a problem when a club that had more than $24,000 in its coffers isn't even listed on your club list for January 2017. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Fergens, I apologize, it's F-E-R-G, Fagans? Thank you.
Good evening. It is Eric Fagans. My friend Nolene doesn't write the same way I write.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fagans, I appreciate it.
We're new residents of Albany, and I am the president of an after-school tutoring program called South End Neighborhood Tutors. We just began this week. We're using the property that Albany County Meals on Wheels had used at the base of the tower at 20 Rensselaer. We offer a one-on-one free tutoring service for elementary age students in the South End. We will take a student when we have a tutor for them. We currently have about 24, 26 tutors and 7 children signed up. Basically, this is just for your information that we exist. I've got pamphlets if you'd like them. Would be glad to answer a question if you have one. But I would thank you for your time.
And thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
That concludes public comment. We are now on to routine consent. May I please get a motion to approve routine consent? Ms. Smith, seconded by Ms. Roach. Any set-asides? Ms. Roach.
Yes, I wanted to set aside item G. That's the junior ROTC trip to Newburgh.
Any other set-asides? Mr. Bruce.
The two Turner contracts,
So that is
which
C
are
and D.
C and D, yes, and transfers over $10,000, which is R,
Okay. Anything else?
and real property refunds, which is W.
And anybody else? Ms. Lang.
Special education.
I'm sorry, what?
Special education. B.
Is there a letter?
Yeah, sorry, B.
What was there? Letter B. Thank you. Anything else?
B.
Okay, I'm setting aside H and I. May I get a motion to adopt routine consent except for those set-asides? Ms. Smith, seconded by Ms. Roach, who I'm sure his hand is about to go up. Thank you. And all those in favor of routine consent except for the set-asides? That is unanimous. Let's go in order of those who raised them. Ms. Roach, G.
I'm concerned about G because it just has the email denying the field trip request and doesn't have any information, about the actual field trip request, which I would prefer to have before I approve this. Also, I am concerned. I understand the concerns that were stated, but I'm not really comfortable paying for hotels for something that's as close to here as Newburgh on a general principle. We do field trips to Boston and New York City and don't pay for hotels, so I don't think Newburgh should be a overnight stay.
So I'm not sure, I just have one question. When you say, I understand the issue about overnights. The first issue you raised with regard to information, since the form that we normally get for field trips is the form that we got, if you could be more specific.
I didn't see the form. I only see the, I do see, never mind. I didn't scroll. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I did not scroll down to see the form. My fault.
So your set-aside have to do with the overnight, correct?
That's correct.
At the hotel, all right.
Oh, never mind. Actually, I am so sorry. I did not see this to see that the government was paying for hotel and food. So if the federal government is paying for that hotel, I therefore I withdraw my.
I appreciate that.
Concerns.
And that can
I'm so
sometimes,
sorry.
sometimes that can be confusing, but often the federal government, and that's one of the great things about it turning into a JROTC from where it was the core before, is very helpful. So now, Mr. Bruce, turning to your, you know what? Can I please get a motion to approve G, the JROTC Newburgh Free Academy contract? Ms. Smith, seconded by Dr. Chator, and all those in favor of G. And that is unanimous. Moving on, Mr. Bruce, let's start with C, please.
Okay, C is
Let me first get a motion. I apologize. A motion, please, to accept C, which is Turner Construction 15 North Lark. Mr. Bruce, seconded by Ms. Smith. And now discussion, please.
Okay, letter C, Turner Construction, 50 North Lark. I am just, I want to question, we use Turner Construction for essentially all of our construction projects. I wonder if that's a wise choice. I know they're working on the big project at the high school, but should they be on every little project as well?
This actually is a very small project. It's 6.5 million, and there's a real urgency. This has been a rush project, as you know, that we've had to deal with for overcrowding. We do numerous construction projects. Each one we could do, if we want to spend hours of time, it takes hours and hours to do RFPs to do that, but there's nothing to prevent us from RFPing every job. We might need to hire some staff, but we can do that.
Right, so my question is more a forward-looking question. It's, we seem to use them for every project. I understand that this is a small project and a tight timeline, but I would like to explore the opportunity to possibly use another construction manager for some of our other projects.
So, okay, so are we, any other discussion on actually this contract, which is C? Any other discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor of C? And that is unanimous. Mr. Bruce, you set aside D. Can I have a motion, please, to accept D, Turner Construction's contract on the AHS project? Ms. Smith, seconded by me. I don't know if that's appropriate, but it moves it along quickly. Discussion, Mr. Bruce, it was your set aside.
So yes, I know we're adjusting the payment for Turner on the high school project. I just wanted to generally ask the question, because there's a lot of small adjustments, if there are any significant implications from the small adjustments.
The reason for the adjustment is that the project is a couple years longer in length than was initially projected. And also the budget is obviously grew more than the original. The fee for Turner is still 3.5%, which is one of its original proposals. So percentage base, we're in the same place we were. It's a bigger project, the same percentage of a bigger number gives them a bigger fee.
Okay, so all the adjustments are just minor adjustments that have no cost implications.
To the overall project, when the project grew, so did the contingencies and allowances for all of these indirect costs, Turner being one of many indirect costs.
Right. Okay. I understand that we're accepting the 3.5% as opposed to, well, there was a sliding scale between 3 and 3.5. So my general question is there anything else that we should be aware of in this? I mean, it's a big contract. I just wanted to ask the question.
No, it's actually a fully comprehensive construction management services contract and proposal, which is what it was before. There was just an adjustment because the length of the project time expanded and the cost of the project expanded, but it really was more a time factor because they have to staff it for 2 years longer than originally projected.
Right. Okay, I'm set on this one.
Any other discussion on D? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving D? And that is everybody except...
No, I'm sorry.
Didn't want to assume. That is unanimous then. Ms. Roach? Oh, okay, thank you. That is unanimous on D. The next set aside is...
Ms. Sadler, can we do W first because they're related? Yeah.
Sure. We're going to go to W now, which is the... Can I get a motion, please, to accept the contract form, scrolling down? The real... actually, can it accept the real property tax adjustments, which is W. And Ms. Smith, seconded by Mr. Bruce. Discussion.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask some questions on a relative basis. I understand that, well, it seems to be that the tax adjustments are substantially over what we projected, since there's also a $500,000 transfer and transfers over $10,000. So I was just wondering how it relates historically and how it relates to what we budgeted for these transfers, and why it's seemingly a substantial amount above what we budgeted.
It actually comes, it's actually in total is running about $300,000 less than last year, the lines combined, but these are hitting two different budget lines. Prior years, which is $1,092,000, actually hits the expense account, and then the adjustments to the current taxes hit the current revenue line, because it's revenue you build and you're never going to receive, and it shouldn't have been billed because there was a tax adjustment, so it's all current. So the only line that actually is hitting the expense side where you're seeing the budget is the $1,092,000. I don't have in my back pocket what the budget on that specific line is.
Okay, so the adjustment is just...
I mean, I can send that information.
Okay, all right. Yeah, if it's actually within the budget, I don't need it. So the $500,000 transfer and transfers over $10,000 is basically just for current unexpected tax adjustments.
Wait, 500,000.
It's from
Right,
medical insurance.
right. We're moving it over to refund of real property, and that is that expense line. So that would tell us that that line this year is hitting about $500,000 more than the budget right now, or that's what we're projecting at year end on the expense side.
Okay, so I guess my broad question is, we assumed certain tax collections that are now being adjusted that we're not receiving. And is there a understandable, simplistic reason as to why?
We have actually no control over any changes in assessments at all. That's all handled at the city. So we can't even challenge it. I mean,
No, I guess, so we do project, though, some expected adjustments into our
Correct.
annual
Right.
budget. So this would suggest it's significantly above our projections, at least
the
half
cost
million.
this year,
Yes.
yeah, are running higher than expected. But the other thing on the revenue side is we're getting a lot of additional payment of delinquent taxes on the revenue side as well. So the revenues are going over on the other side, and the expenses are going over. So there'll
Okay.
be some offset.
So the projection is a mixture of those two, and,
Correct.
okay. All right, thank you.
Any other discussion on W? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the real property tax adjustments? That is unanimous. Mr. Bruce, R? Do you still want a
make a-
motion? You're good
yeah.
on that?
One.
Can I get a motion to adopt R, please, which is budget transfers over 10,000? Ms. Savage, seconded by Ms. Lang. All those in favor?
No, could I
No?
just,
Oh,
I
you
would
still
like
have,
to.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
I thought
just
that,
make a-
I
Sorry about that.
misunderstood. Discussion. Mr. Bruce?
Right, so there are a significant amount of transfers over $10,000. And I asked my primary question, which was related to the $500,000 transfer. Just wanted to specifically ask the question, is there anything else within these transfers that we should be aware of as a board?
I'm just looking quickly. I just pulled up for your other question as well. Yeah, actually, it's running very well. Currently, the refund on real property taxes, the actual expense is $134,000 with a budget of $500,000. But some things must be happening that we're expecting that we're going to need much more than that. In terms of your other question, just let me look at, these are all relatively small. These other ones, let's see, there's one for 49,000, which is coming from a line where we have a surplus. Yeah, I mean, we're okay. We actually typically underspend anyway. So every line where we're making a transfer out of, it has been determined that there are funds available in those lines. So we don't have anything yet really that would, obviously the one you mentioned, the tax one is a large one, but everything else isn't, in a $250 million budget, isn't really that big of a number.
Any other discussion?
No, I'm gonna, thank you.
Can I,
We had the motion, I think, didn't we?
no, I
Yes.
know, I was just going to
Oh.
say, can I get a show of hands as to who's approving R?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that is unanimous. We are done with that. Ms. Lang, P.
No discussion.
Seeing none, all those who are voting in favor of P, which is the, let me get the exact title of it,
We need the motion.
Committee on Special Education, all those in favor? Oh, we didn't get, I apologize. Can I please get a motion to approve the Committee on Special Education? Ms. Roach, seconded by Ms. Smith. No discussion. All those in favor? That is Mr. Bruce, Ms. Smith, Ms. Adler, and Ms. Savage. All abstained, and that is Dr. Chator, Ms. Roach, and Ms. Lang. Now it's up to mine. So I make a motion to approve H, which is the field trip to, that is the field trip to Mount Sinai High School. Can I get a second? Ms. Smith, my discussion. I'd like to put them together with the Wheaton College one, which is I. Would you allow the motion, Ms. Smith, to be for both H and I? Okay, Ms. Tibbetts, it's for both. So the question I have is on the contracts that we got for the two of those. The very last part on the page 1 of the contract was not, and I'm either to Dr. Wilkins or to Ms. McKenna, was not checked off that very bottom of the first page, and it has been the course of conduct for the board that the reason it's important for something to be checked off there is that it's been a policy of this board that by checking something off there, that is consistent with the board's, and I don't know if it's an actual policy, but the board's policy, either in quotes or without quotes, that no student should be turned away from a field trip who cannot afford to go. So my concern is that both of those contracts didn't have the check off. So if I could just get some either representation or say that somebody is going to check something off on the bottom of that page for me, I'd appreciate it, because the copy of the contracts I got did not. Is that what's being scrolled up right now? That I think is page 2. It's the bottom of page 1. Are we going to have a big reveal?
A field trip?
The two field trips.
So the reason why nothing is checked off on the bottom, and maybe it's my misunderstanding, but those are, the boxes at the bottom are intended for events or field trips that are being supported through fundraising or other organizations?
It's been the practice in the school district that that those contracts that number 8 refers to how the actual cost per student is mitigated where the student can't afford to go, and that has always been the case. And I appreciate.
So for these two field trips, and I apologize if I didn't answer the question based on the question that was sent in, but all students will attend those two field trips, and it's being supported by the high school's budget.
I appreciate that. And then to make things a little more clear in the future, because that just didn't appear anywhere in the contract, is when the cost is being borne, not by individual students, but being borne by some organization or the district itself. If we just have like an asterisk or a note or something, that would be terrific, because again, just history is that 8 allows us to look at it and say, the goal of the board to ensure that nobody gets turned away is met. And when that's blank, that's the only reason I would be setting it aside to say, I just need that reassurance.
Sure.
So thank you for explaining that to me.
Sure.
And I apologize, we didn't get back the information that you put.
No worries.
Okay,
I
thank you.
apologize.
I'm sorry, I just need to also just intersect that the budget code indicates that's coming from the school's budget. That's on number 4. And then when you look at number 8, we need to actually change how number 8 is actually written, because it says describe fundraising efforts to offset the cost of this field trip. And then it doesn't really, right. We need to change that whole thing.
Thank you so much. Like I said, it's a simple thing. So thanks. We're out of time.
I just want to make sure now I'm understanding this, because I thought I did, and I'm not sure. On that form, it says that there's a $60 cost per student. Is that the cost to the student or the cost
No,
for the
for
student?
the student.
That's really the
For
confusion. Is it
the-
always usually in the past, and this is
yeah.
just like a transitional thing, in the past that was used to fill out how much the family was responsible for. So the way this is written, it looks like every family is 60. Now I understand it, but that's why we were confused.
And also, Dr. Wilkins, I do appreciate the budget codes. We do know, that is general fund, but because of the way it's worded, sometimes
know.
general fund is going to cover the first X dollars, and then the remainder is covered by families. So thank you so much. And like I said, that would be great. And again, it's while it's not a big deal financially, from a standpoint of sort of what our reason of existence is and how we feel about people children that getting out and doing field trips that might not ordinarily do it, making sure that the entire student body gets represented, and that's part of team building as well. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing that. So that is all of, okay, all those in favor of H&I, please. That is unanimous, and we are done with routine consent. Thank you so much. Discussion action item, transportation. Mr. Hogan.
Yes, in your contract approvals this evening, there were 2 contracts related to transportation. We recently put out a major request for proposals. It was a comprehensive 40-page document issued on December 12th. It called for price quotes on each individual bus run, and all the responders were ranked based on 10 categories that included areas such as experience with similar districts, safety programs, accidents and driver histories, vehicle maintenance, and of course, cost. First Student quoted the lowest price on 57 of the 90 runs. Durham quoted the lowest price on 33 of the 90 runs. However, Durham requires a minimum of 70 runs, so they in essence disqualified themselves from any runs, because under the lowest cost they would have been given 33, not 70. When they dropped out, Brown Transportation actually quoted the lowest cost on 2 runs. So you have a contract with Brown and a contract recommended with First Student. The end result is that First Student, which has the overall highest ranking, is being recommended for 88 runs, plus after school, plus shuttles, plus field trips. Brown Transportation, with the second overall highest rating, is being recommended for 2 bus runs. By awarding these contracts, the general fund has been increased by approximately $545,000 to reflect the new pricing. Some of the changes in terms of the contract structure are as follows. We're no longer responsible for any aspects of the bus fuel. The district used to have to purchase that and basically fill the buses, and now it was all included in the quotes for the bus runs. The district will also do all of the bus routing. We think that will be much more efficient and be a much faster turnaround time by doing so. Fortunately, our Director of Transportation actually did that in her previous district, so we have in-house expertise. There's also a broader scope of areas that may result in financial penalties when they don't perform to specifications in certain areas. We also require that the district is entitled to do some training to the bus drivers, and First Student actually is providing all new brand new buses and a bus tracker application, which is an app on a smartphone that parents can find out through GPS where the buses are at any given time. So that's an overall summary of the transportation contracts.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Did somebody? Ms. Smith thought that somebody had a question.
So field trips. Is there a bulk number of field trips or amount for, how is that broken down?
We have estimated 2,150 field trips will occur, and it is based on that, but we will actually be billed on what actually happens.
So I know that CDT does free buses locally in Albany. Is that being utilized to our full capacity? I mean, curb to curb within the city for all of our schools, is my understanding. When a teacher requests a bus, they will pick the bus up and then deliver them. I've only had one in my 10 years teacher use that system.
Yeah, we actually do not have a contract with CDTA for any elementary students. We have contracted for the middle schools and the high school. so they can use the buses whenever they want within the city. But typically the yellow buses for the elementaries, or sometimes, depending on how it's, sometimes the bus may be chartered, depending on who's doing it and where they're going.
I know that some of the teachers are using it. I know at Myers Middle School, quite a few of the teachers used it for inside the city field trips, but it's probably not being used to its totality. So we need to get the word out to elementary schools and middle schools who are doing field trips within Albany to further use that. So it's limited.
Ms. Savage?
I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for the complete report, and transportation has been a bone of contention throughout the district for a long, long time, and I am extremely pleased that driver training is a piece of what we're getting out of this, that our own routing is a piece of what we're getting out of this, and that the brand new buses are a piece of what we're getting out of this. I think it goes a long way towards making some progress on the transportation friction, which has been a real challenge for our kids. When you have a kid standing out in the cold without a proper coat for an hour, that is not just a small problem. That is a big problem, and it's been a really difficult period as we've gone through this. So I know many people will be very optimistic and hopeful that their lives will be improved in a dramatic way by an improvement in transportation. So thank you for doing the work to make this happen and for giving us such a complete report.
I echo the sentiments. Thank you, Mr. Hogan, for explaining that to us. Mr. Bruce?
I have a couple quick questions, and I'll go in order or whatever. My
I'm
first
just going
question-
to, I don't think there's any other questions, so I was just going to say, why don't you ask your few questions, and then we'll conclude.
Okay, so routing is actually a very sophisticated effort. We have the in-house staff to do that. Are they getting software package, or how are they going to?
Yes, and actually our Director of Transportation, Denise Town, is actually here. If I brought her here, just thank you, Denise. In case anybody really wanted to do some drilling, I think Denise will have the answers. But yes, actually Denise did it and she's the one that came to me and suggested we should just do this in-house. It's much more efficient. We could do much faster turnaround time. If you'd like Denise to expound on that, she can.
Is anybody else interested in that?
Doing it right now?
Quick question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ms. Town, do you want to come up, and then you can answer the question? That's great. Thank you so much. So now everybody can meet you. So we did hire you last year, but this is the first time we've come and actually sat at the table, and thank you for coming and answering Mr. Bruce's questions. So just put the switch on, and then you're good to go.
It's on. Okay. Are you sure? Okay.
The general question was around routing and what the general plan would be in terms of execution.
So first off, you start with your enrollments at your different schools. How many kids, how many buses you're going to need, how many kids you want to put onto a bus. And then you quite simply drive down the street and pick the kids up as you go. There's certainly other factors to take into consideration, whether or not students are special needs, if they're special needs students and they're in wheelchairs. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. I started back in November so that we could have really solid numbers as far as how many routes we would need, how many kids we have on the routes, how you're going to tier the schools together, if non-public schools can fit onto tiers with public schools, and just it's a puzzle that you have to then fit together. But you know.
So do you use software, or are you doing this all?
The district currently uses Versatrans routing software. It's one of the major ones in the country. We've integrated our system, so Versatrans talks to PowerSchool, PowerSchool talks to Versatrans, Versatrans talks to CDTA, so everybody will have access to it. In the coming year, we're going to have web-based access for our vendors, as opposed to having full access, which is what we have now. So teachers and you guys even, if I give you a login, could go and look up your own student's bus information if a teacher needs to know what bus a student's going to be on at the end of the day. When you take a look at routing and you plan it out, you decide a cap number of students that you're going to put on a bus, and then you leave yourself a little wiggle room in case people move or change schools. And
Well, I'm actually excited to hear all that. and,
I feel like I should curtsy or something.
and feel very positive about how we're going to move forward. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate your presence. And do you want to add?
I was going to say, I think it's going to be a really good, strong, positive step for us.
Dr. Chatur.
Quick question. The back of the school buses, there is a sign that says empty. Is that supposed to be flipped in the morning when they're picking up the kids and they actually have kids in there?
It should say this bus is empty when the students are off the bus.
Off the bus. Right?
Off the bus, ideally.
Yeah,
yes.
because I've been seeing a lot of buses where they pick up the kids but it still says empty.
Yeah, so
wasn't
I can
okay.
tell them about that.
Any other questions on this side before I go back to Mr. Bruce? Mr. Bruce?
Well, I have a question for Bill. Does anybody else have a question for Ms. Towns?
Is it still about transportation?
Yes.
So I'm going to have Ms. Towns stay up here in case it's something, again, that she can really enlighten us on.
All right, so for the projections, we're going to be paying a little more. How did you factor in the lack of, or the fact that we don't have to pay for gasoline? It's included in the differential?
Yeah, we actually had a separate gasoline line before, so I essentially was able to erase that, make that zero, and then the new budget was set based on the total actual bids that we're awarding in these contracts.
Okay, that's it for
So
me.
the net of everything. And then the other thing too, a lot of the aides were bid into the runs. Denise has already done the runs because that's what they bid on. But like when they bid on a wheelchair special ed bus, the gas, the aid, the specialized bus, that's all included in what they bid. So it's kind of a one price, but they bid different prices on a lot of different routes because of the different factors.
Well, thank you, and what a wonderful way to have you come speak to us for the first time. So really, thank you very much for being here. And Bill, thank you very much for making sure that we had the two of you to tag team. So much appreciated. Thank you. And now we are on to discussion. Ms. Savage for the superintendent search update. It is an action on approving Brown. I thought we had done that on routine consent, and I apologize. May I please get a motion? Can we, by the way, Bill, Mr. Hogan, can we do C and D together? Is there any reason to separate them out? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve C and D under item 6, which is the contract for Brown Transportation and First Student? Ms. Roach, seconded by Ms. Savage. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. We are now on to an update from Ms. Savage for item number 7.
So my update will be fairly short and fairly visual today. My role here tonight is to talk about the superintendent search. Most people already know that we are engaged in a superintendent search. Dr. Wilkins, our interim superintendent, has supported our efforts to do a full national search to ensure that we have the best candidate to serve all of our students. And where we last left off, in January, we had done a significant community involvement process where we had hundreds of people from around the city involved both in an online survey and in in-person interviews. And we took the feedback from those efforts, which was around what are the critical characteristics of the permanent superintendent, and we used them to develop the brochure that you see online here. I'm not going to read it to you. It is available online, and you'll be able to look at it in close detail yourself. But I wanted to share how reassured I was, and I think the board was, that the critical characteristics that we heard from parents, that we heard from staff, that we heard from students, and that we heard from a survey of the board members were all quite consistent. Out of 20 possible characteristics, 9 of them were considered in the top 10 for 3 out of 4 groups or 4 out of 4 groups. That's pretty good consistency, right? Almost all of the characteristics that people cared about were the same across those groups, and I thought that was really reassuring. And in particular, the top 3 were almost uniformly 1, 2, and 3 in some order. They aren't all 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, but they were very, very consistent. And those top 3 were absolute 100% integrity of that person, a focus on student success, and the ability to identify and solve problems. And I thought that was really a good list of the top 3 things that a superintendent must do. So that's all I'm going to share for now. I'm going to leave this for you online and point out that the next time I'll be back to you will be after the March 31st deadline for applications. So if you know anyone that you think would be an excellent permanent superintendent, you ought to encourage them to apply. And next time we have a superintendent search update, I will be able to tell you how many applicants we had.
Thank you very much, Ms. Savage, and every time you present, I thank you again for leading the board and the district in this effort. Number 8, the 2017-18 budget development discussion. Mr. Hogan, I'm assuming it's you again. Okay, so 1 week before we adopt at some point before we adopt the budget, Ms. Primero, I'm going to actually recognize you before I realize that I have forgotten to mention you because you sit in the back and quietly come and take your place. So I apologize. Thank you for all the work you do.
All right. Oh, I don't know if I have the clicker. Do I have a clicker? Or are you doing it? No, I was going to grab our budget folders. Okay, good evening. We're going to give you another budget update. So let's begin. So the agenda tonight, we're going to just flash the budget calendar in front of you, talk about stakeholder expectations, budget priorities, our financial outlook. It has improved tremendously since the last time we met, so that's good news. We'll give the totals on the current draft budget and talk about some of the other proposals we're considering. We'll talk about reserves and fund balance, the tax cap, and next steps. Okay. So the stakeholder expectations are pretty similar every year. Provide a rich and academic programming for all students at all levels, maintain the current programs, perform the mandates as necessary and staff accordingly, provide academic intervention services, and additionally in urban districts, as we do, typically there's a lot of social and emotional supports as well. We annually add new programs and services to the budget to enhance our education system, and don't raise taxes. That's the goal. Uh-oh, that doesn't look good, Andre. Oh, you had it. All right. No. Yeah, this doesn't work so well. Okay. So. Yeah, we lost the slide. Yeah, this. I know. Go, give me the slide above. Yeah, this is a PDF, so it's not working that well. Okay. The budget priorities, we're going to continue the existing programs. These are the assumptions. As we were building this budget, we needed to staff the new middle school opening on 50 North Lark Street. We need to address the E&L mandates and the rapidly growing E&L population. We continue to try to implement and enhance and update the academic plan that we started last year. This year, also as a new initiative, there was a recommendation and a presentation on redesigning the alternative education program. And every year this year as well, we had to evaluate positions falling off grants and prioritize and decide which ones we would try to continue and which ones would end. Next slide. Yeah, he's got it. So as I mentioned before, really good news. Our financial outlook has improved. We have received additional information from the State Ed Department, further clarification on the community schools money, and they are giving us the opinion now that we can use that for the newcomer school program. So that's good news. Also, we were able to free up money because of our self-insured health insurance plan, which is performing very well, and you'll see later on how that freed up a lot of money and brought our expenses down quite a bit. And lastly, as part of this, the newcomer school won't put any pressure on the general fund, which is where it was sitting last time we met and the prior times we met. So these are all good news things. So since we last issued the first draft, these are the changes that we made. As I mentioned, a major reduction in the health insurance estimate. And again, we're self-insured, so we actually pay claims as opposed to just paying premiums, and then insurance companies keep the profit. So our plan has performed very well the last few years underneath industry norms in terms of escalation. We also, there's staff transitions throughout the budget process. That's just a net number, the 21,000. We actually are settling the APSA contract, so we had to put the difference between what our estimate was versus what reality is. That's the change, so we've implemented the new agreement into the budget. The contract transportation services, I needed to bump that up another $52,000. The ALC staffing, it was discovered in our cabinet discussions that the ALC actually needed 4.6 positions in art, fax, music, and technology. And these are mandated courses, so we needed to do that. And we adjusted our charter school assumption for the KIPP expansion. Initially, we had projected there'd be 50 additional students. We now believe it's going to be more like 80. So this 468,000 actually only represents 30 kids. So with that, there were no adjustments on the revenues. This brings us to the totals on the first draft. There's a projected deficit of $562,960, which at this point would take a 0.9% or about a 0.5% tax levy increase to balance the budget. The big thing here is that we have not put the 50 North Lark Street middle school staffing into this yet, and I'll tell you the impact of that on the next slide.
You just said 0.9. Did you mean 0.49?
0.49, I'm sorry.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I was following along with you.
It's, yeah, 50 North Lark is 0.9. This is presented as 0.49. Yeah, I'm doing too many presentations today. Next slide, other proposals. So these are things we've talked about before. Staff is recommending that 2 assistant principals be added in priority schools to complement the community schools program in those schools. In that part, at this point, historically, we have not been able to put administrative positions into the community schools grant. The academic plan that has been presented, a lot of that can be taken out of community schools monies as well, but the general fund portion for option B, which would be a step down from the enchilada step A plan, option A, is $561,200. The redesign option, realizing that the budget was growing more than we could probably handle, there was an option B design, which essentially added the teachers, but we didn't add the TAs. We actually took the, I think it was 6 TAs off. And as I mentioned, the 50 North Lark staffing of the new middle school would be $1,021,000. So if you did everything listed here, the tax levy needed would be 2.41%. If you just picked from here the 50 North Lark Street staffing, the tax levy would be 1.39%. We'd be about $500,000 over the tax cap if we did that. The next slide just talks briefly about reserves and fund balance. We talk about this every year. You're probably pretty familiar with it. Essentially, reserves are funds that we're able to set aside for anticipated future payments. There are very specific designated reserve accounts that are allowable and how much you can fund in them. It's all guided by the comptroller's office. It's all audited. But it is a tool that's used, and you'll see advised to be used by the comptroller's office to help smooth out spikes in annual budgets and the property tax levies. And the third bullet there just talks about it. It represents prudent management to use these reserves as a financial strategy. Fund balance represents the total accumulation of reserves minus expenditures since the inception of the school district, less any withdrawals. Fund balance is equivalent to your lifetime savings. So with fund balance, you don't want to liquidate all at one time. If it took you 50 years to build it up to that, you wouldn't want to liquidate it in 12 months, because then what are you going to do on month 13? So it's long-term funds should be used for long-term purposes. So here is how the budget has been drafted. Comparison of this year, the appropriated fund balance and use of reserves of this year versus what's been built into the draft budget for next year. We typically talk about this time of year, and then sometimes when the state aid comes in, we talk about it again, or we finalize it later on. This is just kind of to let you know, disclose what it is and where we are. We had to back off the debt reserve a little bit because that was on about a 5-year plan to use that reserve up, and that's one that we needed to use up in conversations with the auditors. So we're going to be backing it off a little next year and the year after. So those are the fund balance and reserves. The next slide is the tax cap calculation. You may be tired of me telling you this as well, but the tax cap calculation, really all it does is govern how many votes you need to pass the budget. It's really that simple. So the tax cap is calculated. It's a complex formula with several factors. Once it's calculated, if you ask the voters for more than the tax cap calculation, you need a 60% supermajority passage rate of the people that show up on that day and vote. If you are at the tax cap or below it, you can actually pass your budget with 50% of the votes plus 1 vote. We have calculated the tax cap at 0.96%, just a little bit under 1%. That would allow a tax levy increase of $1,094,890. And at that level, a budget could be passed with a simple majority. So our next step is to continue the state aid development. Certainly the legislature is still asking for more money, as is the state education department. So we will team up with the people that are all looking with our same point of view and continue our lobbying efforts. It really heats up the last couple weeks of March. They're having a lot of hearings, etc. So we'll have to see how that goes. We're still working with the county. As I mentioned, they want to change the timing of when they make us whole on delinquent taxes. That can have major impact on our surplus this year and also longer term. So we'll be meeting with them. I reached out to them again today. We'll be I hope to meet with them a group meeting again next week or shortly thereafter. We'll continue reviewing the revenue and expenditure projections, and the academic plan. I think we're in good shape on that right now. So with that, I will turn it back to the president for questions, comments.
Why don't we start from this side? Dr. Chator.
Hey, Bill.
And again, just one thing I want to say. So we are ahead of schedule. We have set up enough time for discussion, and I just remind everyone that I'm going to hold everybody to one question, and then we will go and circulate back around again.
So my question actually goes not to this presentation, but the documents that were also loaded on board docs with it. For example, the expenditure, the second draft budget. Now, when you compare the second draft budget to the first draft budget, I see that the total numbers that you show here, but we look line item by line item, most of the increases seem to be in administrative salaries, and most of the decreases seem to be on instructional salaries. Items like special ed, hall monitors, things like that. I mean, and the health insurance is in there as well, which you already pointed out.
Correct. There are a lot of salary lines. Overall, we're not reducing staff, so overall, they would be going up overall. There are a lot of salary lines in our 12, well, actually, this document is less
No,
than
it's like, but it's like you got the
1,200
instructional
lines.
salaries, and you got the administrative salaries side by side, and you see between the first draft and the second draft, the administrative salaries went up, the instructional salaries went down. So there is net probably doesn't change much, but how does that impact the curriculum?
Right. Is there a particular, like, line number you're looking at?
If you go to page 8 of the expenditures.
Okay, actually, all right, we do have that. What happened was, we had held a block of money as a contingency, waiting for the administrative contract to settle. And once it was settled, we actually allocated out to all the separate lines where it belongs, but we couldn't do that at first because we didn't know how it was gonna settle. So the net impact, so you are correct, I was thinking, because we haven't added any administrative, like, staffing since the first draft. I was trying to think, how did that happen? So essentially, that's what it is, and actually slide 7. The net change was $38,978. The net change between, I had a block of money and a contingency anticipating the contract being settled. Once it was settled and we dispersed it and we looked up the actual people on the schedules with the new salary structure, there was a net increase of the budget of $38,978. But that goes back to, what step is Susie on and when you actually roll it out. So that had been an estimate, and the prior version wouldn't have shown any increases for administrators. And the contract settled a little under 3%.
Sue is graciously allowing me to ask a clarifying question. Does that mean that somewhere in this expenditure sheet, there is a negative number that matches where you allocated all those administrative salaries from? So there's a minus to match up the pluses that Dr. Chator, do you understand my question?
Yeah, you're not going to see it because in that line there were other contingencies as well.
I see. So it's all in one big contingency line item.
For unsettled contracts.
I see.
Which is really going to be an executive session discussion.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying on that. Ms. Roach.
Thank you. Mr. Hogan, I just had one quick question just regarding something I'd heard earlier. And then on the budget memorandum, the expenditure adjustments, there's a line that says contract transportation services, an additional $52,000. And I thought that you said earlier when you were talking about transportation that the new transportation companies would be about an additional $500,000. So is this just, we had already anticipated that we'd be paying about $450,000 more, and then this is an additional $52,000 on top of that?
Yeah, exactly, and
Just wanna
that's a
make
good
sure.
question in light of the conversation tonight. But yeah, we had already made an estimate, let's call it about $450,000, and we actually finalized the contracts. We needed $52,000 more.
Ms. Lang.
Hi, I'm kind of doing a budget plus academic report, and I want to go back to the TAs that were taken out. But when I look at the literacy K2 initiative highlights, the 3 schools that did not have increase in K2 are also 3 schools that do not have the TAs that were put into the K model, and I know that that was put out of the budget. So I just would like to speak about the data results when I go through all of the literacy initiative highlights from the K2.
So I'm just going to
I
ask,
received that. That's all.
if can we wait till the academic plan to talk about that? Okay, yeah. No, it's not on the budget because it's broken out where it's just the base budget, and then it was the option plan. So, and when we go to the academic plan, and then also maybe at the next board meeting, there will be the conversation, the unpleasant conversation of, whenever it happens and we get the runs of the, from state aid, well, guys, here's what we have, here's the pie to chop up, where do you want to put the money? So you will have a lot of time for us to talk about that. Mr. Bruce.
So my question is a little more general, and it actually relates to the ALC redesign. So we did a redesign, I believe, last year. That was about $500,000. I just wanted to understand if there's any impact from that one. ALC redesign. Was it
So
two?
no, we did do the redesign, but the way this is set up was that we are getting the base budget, and then the additional pieces are listed in the presentation as to what the cost is and what the impact would be. And ALC shows up as what we call the add-in, because we basically are looking at the base, and then that shows up in there as in the presentation.
So we have to prioritize whether we're supportive of the add-in. So I'm asking a broad question, which is, did the last redesign have an impact that was measurable?
You mean the redesign when we had the prior superintendent?
Yes.
If I remember correctly, that redesign was how the choice program was added to the Alternative Learning Center, and they talked in the last presentation about the impact of the choice program on them students, but the need to add the appropriate staffing to ensure that students had the appropriate number of academic opportunities to be as successful as they can be in that program. But it has had an impact on a number of students who have completed 9th grade, who traditionally would not complete 9th grade in the high school setting.
Yeah, and I recall that as well, and it was 2 or 3 years ago, time's flying, but it wasn't last year. It was either a year or 2 before then that we put that money in.
Yeah, I've only been on the board for 2.5 years.
It was actually, it was 2015. So it was the budget that we passed in 2015.
For 16,
For the
14,
16.
15.
We passed it in 2015. It was called the Major Redesign Program. It came to us in 2015, and then it went into the 15-16 budget.
Okay.
It had some name I don't remember, but whatever. I'm sorry, Ms. Smith.
So, and this may be a question really for Dr. Wilkins and Cabinet. So I'm trying to get a sense of what each school will kind of look like, and this includes in the context of community schools. And I was wondering if we could have, through the SBU update or even some presentation, an understanding of what's happening in our schools relative to the community schools funding. So in other words, I can kind of see I can see ALC through here, I can see the E&L school. What I can't really get a sense of beyond the hiring of staff, the engagement coordinators, is what's happening in our schools because of community schools funding.
So the only thing I want to do is a process thing. So how a school will look in terms of community model, we had a presentation briefly when Michelle Bridgewater spoke about what the monies were going to be allocated for, at least what the model was. So in the course of this budget presentation, what can be done is the items that are being proposed to be funded by community money would be laid out as to what is an add-in or what is in the base budget, like newcomers in the base budget now, community money. And that can be done that way. But in terms of finding out how we're doing the community schools rollout, that would be something we would talk about probably as a, just not now, maybe in the discussion section.
I didn't say now.
Oh, okay.
I'd really just, I'm, okay, and I may just be that it's still all new for me, but I'm just trying to understand what difference
What
all
we're
these
doing
things
here.
will make.
Oh, so what we're,
And to make sure that each school is getting what we fully anticipate it to get.
right, so, right now, we're talking about the budget, about the base budget, about what that costs to run the programs continued from last year. It also lays out some of what is the staff's recommended initiatives to spend the money, because that's how the budget process works. It's our budget to adopt, it's our budget to explain, it's our budget to ask lots of questions about and get information. But, and so if you have so as part of this, it is perfectly reasonable within the confines of budget to then ask for the next time we have the budget presentation, or even in between, to get in an SBU information on how the staff is proposing that the community schools money be spent.
Yes, and if, does that make
Because
sense?
that-
So
because that's like
I'm
a
just saying, it
program-
takes me a while to get there. but
Oh, no,
my
that's why I wanted to
question.
explain it. Yeah.
But I also want to make sure that, so are we going to run into a situation where things that we, and I know I'm not going to probably put this right, that we, given in an ideal world, we would have all this money to do whatever. I want to make sure that the community schools money isn't replacing what we normally would have done. Do you see what I'm saying? Does that make
No,
sense?
and it's an excellent question.
Okay.
So,
All right.
because community schools is not really like a program where, I see Dr. Brenda in the audience, where we talk about getting program information for budgets, but it is of that ilk. So in a sense, what you're looking to find out is, in a sense, like, what kind of, we have this pot of money that we believe we're being given for community schools. What is the proposed budget from staff coming to us? What parts of it are being allocated for community schools? And it may be, and I think you should get it all in one spot, it may be that if we comb through it, and I don't mean that in a pejorative sense, we would find, oh, here's community, or here's the community money. But it makes a lot of sense, since it is a new model, that what you're asking for, I think, is, hey, so that I know the next time I'm looking at the budget, where's that money going? Could you lay it out for me all in
Thank
one
you, 'cause
slide
I
or
can't
one
see it.
spot?
Right, thank you.
Perfect, and thank
Okay.
you. Thank you for letting me try to
No,
figure it
good.
out for them moving forward. So
Okay.
good. Okay, Ms. Savage.
I think my question may be the same as Ms. Smith's questions, but it's so important I'm willing to use my one question to ask the same question in possibly a different way, which is, what is the impact on our ability to deliver the community schools model completely by taking the $420,000 from community schools and using it for E&L? That's the question we're trying to answer. Oh, it was a separate question. I couldn't tell, but that's my question, is what's the impact on community schools?
Well, one thing I just want to kind of complete, we had to go to state ed to question whether or not newcomer could be used under community school monies. And I think Ms. Dahlia was with us when we did that questioning, and they told us that if we were to do newcomer, that we would have to be taking it from community school monies, if I'm not mistaken. And then we went to SED, and they said, yes, indeed. That was one of the things that you would be allocated to do with the community schools money. So.
I don't have a question this round. So I'm going to start again now from this side. Mr. Bruce, round two.
I'm going to ask an easy question first. There's nothing in here for athletics.
No, actually, and we can send you what that is, but we actually increased some athletic lines because they had expanded certain programs in sports, and when all of the administrators, including the athletic director, put in their request, that was one area, one of the few areas where actually we're able to, thought that was something we really needed to do. It was, I may be able to give you a couple things if I can open this up quick.
It's on page 8 and 9 of the revenue, of the expenditures piece too, where you can find where it is line by line. I mean, that's not a lot of detail that you may still need from Mr.
No,
Hogan,
we
but
gave her other equipment.
it's
and things.
$93,000 increase in interscholastic athletics versus the prior.
Right.
So I guess my general question is, we need an assistant athletic director. So an assistant athletic director.
Yeah, there was a pretty extensive list from the athletic department, and that was one of the few areas that they did get increases, but they didn't get that position. We didn't put it in the base budget at that point. I mean, if there was $12+ million of requests, so everything couldn't make it, obviously.
And just so you know, we had Ms. Ryan come back to the table with us at Cabinet to discuss this even further. So we had to actually start going through and say, what's yes, what's no. So this was what we got down to.
I'm going to be able to pull it up real
So
quick.
I'm going to go out of turn to my first question just to follow up to Mr. Bruce's. So, especially because there's new board members, but the process that was started last year, which, thank you, Dr. Wilkins, was an excellent process. Mr. Hogan, thank you, where people from the buildings, people from the various departments came in and made what were their requests for what they believe is actually important to the running of their department and to the continued sustainability and growth, continued this year as part of the process. But what I'm gathering is that what we're seeing is the result of the back and forth that happens, the very difficult back and forth that happens at Academy Park, where with a difficult budget season, as we started to realize from the time the governor first issued his budget, we are not going to have that extra boost to be able to put the extra pieces in that we think we need. Is that a pretty good assessment, that you did the same process where people came in and because we've always talked as a board, and I think even that side of the room too, we've talked about making sure that, the principals came in, people came in and had your ear, talked about what they needed, but in the end, what we're seeing is your best recommendation of what to do with the money that we got, or we think we're
Yes.
going to get.
Absolutely. That is
Right.
kind of where we are. We also have to remember that we did have the academic plan from last year, and we didn't venture left, right, or center from that because we have to keep moving that forward at this
And
point. too,
understandable.
so, yeah.
We've said and often been said to us from the community that we start initiatives and we do not continue them, especially initiatives that we believe are important, like children reading by 3rd grade. So I appreciate that, and I do appreciate Mr. Bruce bringing out the fact that Ms. Ryan had asked for an assistant AD, so we do know that. All right, going around this way, we're now Ms. Lang. This is on round 2. Oh, we need to extend, we get till 8:50, okay. Let me just see how many, would everybody like to ask another question? Well, one, can I get a motion? That's 2, 3, 4. Can I get a motion to extend, do you have any other? 15, we're gonna go? Okay, 15. Can I get a motion to extend a budget discussion for 15 minutes? Ms. Roach, seconded by Dr. Chatur. Dr. Chatur. All those in favor? Ms. Lang, are you in favor or not? Yes, that's unanimous. Thank you. Now, Ms. Lang.
I know in the years past, we've gotten kind of wish lists from buildings. Do we have that data, or did I?
We do. We have actually $12,182,890.
For one building?
No, the good news is that's from the whole district, yes. But yeah, we can send you that if you would like.
And that's broken down per building? I mean,
It's put down mostly by departments, buildings, and then departments like phys ed as a department, obviously, music, art, E&L. Those are separate special areas, but then you do have buildings.
Okay.
Um,
And
but-
then the
But
co-
we did tell people too as well. This year was a little unique because we had some major initiatives, like creating a third middle school, the ENL, growing population and mandates. So we told administrators, we've already got 2 huge initiatives on the table, plus the academic plan, ALC redesign. So this was going to be a very difficult year with about a 1% tax levy to pull $1 million or 2 out of here. I mean, the good news is the last 2 years, we've had big state aid years.
So it would have been $100 million. Thank you, I'd appreciate it.
And you'll get that out because, and I appreciate you offering that because that is an important piece of information, especially people going through budget season for the first or second time, to see that the budget, even if we don't get the budget that we want and feel we need, we at least understand that the process had a full discussion and people were able to talk about the things that they really do need, even if we don't have the money to support it. Ms. Roth.
And actually, their requests were really looked at more toward mandates that we needed to meet for the base budget.
No, I understand.
year, yeah.
I understand that. Dr. Chator.
One quick question. This is the revenue summary. And again, looking at the first draft and the second draft, what's an interfund revenue? Because that went down like 95%. That was the biggest change.
Yeah. There was 2 lines that were involved. With that interfund transfers, we have 5 or 6 different sets of financial records were required. Interfund transfers, and what you primarily deal with here is the general fund, which is the fund that's voted on. For example, we have a special aid fund that just deals with grants, state and federal monies, and those are reimbursement funds, et cetera. We have the school lunch fund, we have the capital fund, we have debt reserve funds. So when we're transferring in or out of the general fund to one of these other funds, that's an interfund transfer. But we did make an adjustment there was a one-time, on the revenue side, a one-time thing that had occurred and was not going to reoccur. I don't remember off the top of my head what it was.
Fund balance for the grants, but it was over 3 years.
All right.
16, 17 is the final.
Okay, there was a fund balance in our grants, fund, that had accumulated over time. The auditors wanted us to liquidate that over a 3-year period, so the way we had to do that was it was coming over and showing up as a revenue. We completed the last year, it's not gonna roll forward, so it was removed from there.
No, this is the difference I'm talking about is between the first draft and the second draft.
Yes, in the first draft, we had continued to plan
Okay.
in 17-18. We then realized it ends in 16-17. We don't need it in 17-18.
Thank you.
Mr. Bruce is not here. I knew he had another question. Ms. Smith, do you have any others? You're okay? Ms. Savage? Oh, wait, you.
It's very, very short. I voted to extend time, so I'm going to ask my short
I know,
question.
I'm saying, because I looked and I
Oh.
saw Mr. Bruce was just in another
Oh,
part
I'm
of the
sorry.
room.
Really,
So
it's a very
please.
short one, though. I'll do mine. When are we going to be able to move the preliminary tax cap to a final tax cap?
Yeah, I think we're comfortable.
Oh, it's
with
final,
it,
final?
But I just wanted to have a little breathing room because this was issued quickly and it was issued, Friday?
Okay, but now it's submitted and it's .96 is .96 is .96.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Primero. That is why it's so great when you're there. Mr. Bruce.
So again, I have a broad generalized question, and I'm not sure if there's an answer, but we have so many moving parts here. We have grade reconfiguration, new middle school, ALC redesign, ENL newcomer program. I mean, there's a lot of new initiatives, which are initiatives I generally support, but it feels like at a time when we're actually in the middle of a superintendent search that from a business standpoint, it's questionable to commit to so many different moving parts. That's.
So the question is?
Question is, it's tough to commit to so many moving parts in in a district where actually leadership is still up in the air.
Okay, so I'm just going to step out on a limb because I took on the position as the interim superintendent that I did not want to stop the progress that this district has to do in order to stay afloat. So we kept things moving forward, regardless of the title of interim or permanent. We have a job to get done right now, and one of the major jobs right now is to keep our district moving forward. We need, based on enrollment, the third middle school needs to be opened up. We're doing that. We made that happen. We have an issue with the enrollment growing in leaps and bounds. We answered it with the newcomer. We have some things going on at our ALC, and we answered it by proposing a new redesign. Work has to get done, and we're doing it, regardless of the stature or status of the superintendency. We have to answer the call to make sure our students are in the best learning position that they possibly can be. So we got to keep it moving.
Thank you, Dr. Wilkins. So the last question is mine, and mine's more of a rhetorical statement. So I want to thank you for your answer because it feels to me like that we've had years in my 5.5 years in this district that have had a lot more things that were moving around, a lot more things that were up in the air. And we certainly understand our enrollment, we understand our demographics. I appreciate very much that last year that you, together with your staff, put out the K-2 literacy piece. That was critically important. For many years, prior board members have talked about the importance, and we actually put our money where our mouths were on doing K-2 literacy and making sure that we funded what we knew was important, which was, while everything else mattered, we certainly had to have children reading by 3rd grade. So, you know, the difficulty around this time is that we have less money than we need. But we do have to prioritize, and I know that the next time we do this budget discussion, we'll probably be at that stage where the board's going to have to start talking about what is mandated and what is a priority and what we have options on. And then Bill often does the difficult task of asking us, and our much more difficult one of answering, what we are going to put the money behind. And that's true whether someone's an interim or someone's a permanent. So thank you so much, Ms. Primero. Thank you so much, Mr. Hogan. And that concludes our budget discussion for the evening. We are now on to the academic report. Well, that's a good segue now that we had the discussion about all of our initiatives and what's out there. And thank you, Assistant Superintendent McKenna and Assistant Superintendent Wilson-Turner, please.
Thanks, Andre. So this is our mid-year academic report, which is an overview and a progress monitoring report on our elementary, middle, and high school. It'll focus on data from the NWEA administration and the January Regents Examination Administration. Some highlights in the introduction is the focus and connection to the academic plan, where we made a concerted effort to put some additional resources into our kindergarten through 2nd grade. Also, just so that everyone is aware, we are also piloting, or actually implementing, a new reading series at the K-2 level and a new math series at the 3-5 level, which we anticipated having some impact as well. At the middle level, the focus continues. At the middle level, the focus continues on developing a consistent curriculum with our ELA supervisor, our ELA and social studies supervisor and our STEM supervisor. running the lead of that charge and incorporating our sixth grade students that are in the, our sixth grade teachers that are in the elementary schools, as well as the middle school staff, as we indicated the importance of making sure that our sixth grade instruction is as consistent as what occurs at the middle school level. At the high school, a laser-like focus continues on the receivership metrics and the focus work on looking at data to make sure that they are going to make their projections. So we have this conversation every year about New York State testing versus NWA testing. And just to clarify that the NWA test is normed at the 50th percentile, whereas the New York State test is normed at somewhere around the 70th percentile, yet the NWA is a much more sensitive measure in terms of measuring our students' growth over the course of the year, whereas the New York State assessment, for lack of a better word, is almost an autopsy assessment of how our students are doing on the overall curriculum. So the charts presented here are the fall administration of the NWA in elementary for reading and the winter administration. And we look at the comparison of students and where they start. And although it's not an end-year report where we're comparing years over years, our students did tend to start out a little bit stronger this year in the fall, and our growth this year continues on a positive trajectory. And so we always have to take note of the number of students moving from the far and below categories to the at and above categories. And what you'll notice throughout the slides on the presentation is sometimes there will be areas where the below category has increased, but that is not always a bad thing. It typically means that we've moved students out of the far below into the below, which will be the reason for that increase. However, overall, you'll notice that kindergarten, which is one of our areas of focus, has experienced significant growth in the number of students moving to at and above by almost 11%. And in each other grade, they continue to progress in the positive direction. And here is a summary chart just showing the growth at each grade level and the percent change at the at and above level. And again, like I mentioned, the increase in the below is not a bad thing. It means we're moving those students in the right direction, and a decrease in the at could also be playing out in the above. Our math data, I do want to say that we chose an academic focus on K-2 literacy. However, we are very aware of our needs in mathematics instruction in the district, particularly with the change to the Common Core Learning Standards Math and the challenges that presents for our staff, our students, and our families. However, we are committed to the concept that if our students are able to read at grade level, it will definitely assist them in their ability to perform better at math, and we are researching, discussing, and thinking through the best approach to tackling stronger math instruction in our buildings. One of the things that we are cognizant of is the need of switching from a mode where we're intervening and reacting to students who have failed in our system to a mode where we're able to provide stronger Tier 1 instruction that is actually promoting our students being at the level of performance we need them to be. And that is our challenge as a district. If we can right-size ourselves in that direction, we can have that impact. So our math numbers continue to be an area of concern for us and an area where we're planning to improve. And yet and still, we're still seeing increases in students moving from the far below and below to the at and the above levels. And I am going to stick with NWA through the middle school presentation in the absence of Karen Bechtel, who is in a conference today. So one of the big things that we wanted to look at was the data around K-2 literacy. Due to the amount of resources that we've placed there, due to the purchase of a new resource to support instruction that is Common Core Learning Standards aligned. And as you can see, we've had some really nice celebrations to have at this mid-year point. 9 out of our 12 elementary schools experienced some growth at the K through 12 level from this year to last year. 7 out of 12 have experienced it at more than 2 grade levels, that growth. Arbor Hill and Sheridan Prep, I'm just going to take a moment, because those buildings have seen results that they have not seen in a very long time. And I will admit, and I hope I don't embarrass her, Ms. Gaines Harrell and I did a happy dance in our office when we looked at the growth at every grade level that she was seeing based on not just this model, but to her credit, the systems that she's building at that school to begin to make an impact. Sheridan Preparatory Academy's kindergarten program is a model for the district, how they have deployed those resources, the literacy coach that sits in that classroom, the teaching assistant, everyone is clear on their roles, their responsibilities, what each individual child needs. I walked around the classroom and saw a different center at each table, and then at that center, there was an activity for this child, for this. The differentiation was, forgive my colloquialism, off the chain, because they were targeting what those children needed. I had a conversation with the teaching assistant in that room, and he showed me his little folders and his buckets, and this is what I do for this child, and this is his bag, and these are his letters, and these are his words. And they had just gotten to the point where they're using their data in a deeper way, not just to say, you're high, you're medium, you're low, but this is why you're low, and this is what we're going to do to fix it. This is why you're medium, and this is what we're going to do to fix it. And so our challenge right now at the district level is to, and even at the building level, is to how do we bring that to scale? How do we use that as a model to begin to build the capacity of every teacher in every building to present instruction in that way? And I'm talking a little bit more about that in a second. Arbor Hill, Eagle Point, North Albany, Pine Hills, Toast, kindergartens, again, experiencing more than 10% growth in their conditional growth percentile. And our Ames Web data, which is a more distilled measure, really a screening tool that looks at fluency, we're still showing growth in the right direction, from 45% to 49%. So even though we're experiencing some significant growth in some of our what are considered our most challenging buildings, we are still not experiencing the growth that we know that we need to have to close gaps for all of our children in our district. And some of the thought that has been given to that is our ability to sustain coherent, systematic instruction in our district. And President Adler, you just mentioned it, our ability to stay the course with something that we know works when it is a significant investment financially for our district. And what we've put in place in K2 is a significant investment in human resources, but if we can build the capacity and get that traction, we know it will change the trajectory for the students in our district. So with that said, when we looked at our overall growth for the district, we're still moving in the right direction, but we're still not hitting that conditional growth percentile target of 50. And if you talk to my partner in crime, Michelle Bridgewater, the real number we need is at least 60 to be able to see that we're getting more than 4 years worth of growth, so that we know that those gaps will close for students. And so we're very aware that we're seeing some really good things in places that we have to be able to bring to scale. So our next steps are to really continue along the track that we've been working on and really stay close to the data and begin to continue to build capacity to not just, globally look at data and group students, but look at students and diagnose what they actually need. To have our instructional coaches not just provide that direct instruction to students in kindergarten, but to extend that model and the capacity of all the teachers and reading teachers in that building to provide the level of instruction that's needed. Ames Web action plans are also known as Tier 1 academic support plans in our buildings, and our teachers work on those 3 times a year, looking at their NWA data to address their classroom instruction overall. And they will continue to do that work. After-school tutoring continues to be provided, as we do each year, with Title I and SIG-A Basic, which typically focuses on our students in our upper grades in preparation for testing. As I discussed, we had a K2, we have Envisions at grades 3 and 5. It has been softly rolled out, is what Karen's calling it, at K2. And what that means is they have all the resources for the new math series this year, but the expectation for implementation is not until this year, giving students some time to, or teachers some time to familiarize themselves with the materials. And our 3 through 5 literacy process adoption is underway as we look at a couple of different literacy programs to make sure they speak to the K2 literacy program we selected, but also to the middle school needs that our students will have. So our data, again, at the middle school level is, again, moving in the correct direction, even though our conditional growth percentile isn't what we want. It's still not at that 50 or better yet 60 number, and we saw a little bit of slide in that growth, but interestingly enough, we didn't see a slide in the actual number of students performing at or above grade level, where that is actually still moving in the correct direction. but the growth that those students should have experienced could have been more, is what the data tells us. And so again, we have students moving from the far and below into the at and above at steady rates. Math, again, continues to be that struggle, and it's something we have to work on system-wide. But still, our students are making progress throughout the course of the year, moving out of that below, out of the far below, into the below, at, and above.
So what are we doing about this? So teachers at the middle level are continuing to use data in the moment to adjust instruction and curriculum in greater content level teams at least once a week through their common planning time or data teaming time. Instructional coaches are providing ongoing professional development and data analysis through coaching cycles and grade level team meetings, as well as after-school tutoring provided to students through the Title I and SIG-A School Improvement Grant basic funding. And then math interventions appropriate to student gaps are also being provided. And they're looking at data regularly to adjust their intervention plans and their instructional groupings to ensure that from both a reading perspective and a math perspective that the student needs are being met. High school. And we'll talk a little bit more about the high school as well when we get into the receivership. So a strong indicator for whether a student graduates from high school within 4 years is whether or not a student earns 5 or more credits during their 9th grade year. So this Albany High School freshman metric, it is one of the receivership metrics. This is also an indicator on the academic success of the programs happening at the high school. So currently, in order to meet our progress target of 64% of our 9th grade students earning 5 or more credits within their 9th grade year, we have to have 403 students out of the 629 freshman students this year in order to meet that progress target. They also have, in addition, we have a goal. And in order for us to meet that 75% goal, we have to have 472 students earning at least 5 credits during their 9th grade year. I'm happy to report that we have exceeded our progress target at this point at the midway check of 68%, so we are on target and that metric has been met to date. Certainly we're not stopping at this point, we're continuing and there's still a lot of work to do. Out of the 629 students in the 2016 cohort, 429 students are on track to earn the 5 credits. That's a great thing. But we still have 200 students that we are concerned about at this moment in time. For those 200 students not on track, we have established Tier 2 interventions and Tier 3 interventions. For those 75 students who are receiving Tier 2 interventions, those include online success programs, participation in the 21st century where we have academic tutoring, as well as connecting a student with a caring adult for that student to check and connect with on a regular basis. For the 125 students who are Tier 3 students, in addition to those Tier 2 interventions that I have just mentioned, there is an increase in the check and connect through the attendance case manager, homeschool coordinators, the academic principals, social workers, and also the tracking teachers. So it's a wraparound service for those Tier 3 students to ensure that there are multiple adults providing that wraparound service to ensure that students are staying on track to meet that 5 or more credits within their freshman year. We offered 11 Regents exams this past January. The Regents exams are, the results are in the full academic report that we provided. The Regents exams that are up here are just those Regents exams leading to a diploma, so the required Regents exams. What you'll see here is the percent failing and the percent passing. What I'm happy to report is that this is a significant increase from the percentage of students passing last January to this January. And just as a reminder, the kiddos that are taking these exams in January, this is their second or third or fourth time taking these exams. So these are our highly at-risk students that are taking these exams in January. So again, significant increase from last year. They're taking these exams multiple times, and the focus from this point forward to the June Regents exams is really a focus on the interventions for these students who need these exams to graduate. 2013 cohort. So this is a breakdown of the current seniors in our 2013 cohort. We have 429 seniors. And in order to make AYP, adequate yearly progress, which is one of our indicators for receivership, we have to meet two different metrics. We have to meet the participation metric, which is 95% or more of our 2013 cohort sitting for the exam, and also the performance of those students. We have to meet both parts. So as of January, the percent of students participating in the ELA and Math Regents exams is on target to meet the 95% participation rate, as well as the performance. Right now, out of those 429 senior students, we have 86% of those students who have participated in the English Regents exam, and we've exceeded the 95% for the math. We have 96% of those 2013 cohort students participating in the Regents exam. So that's a great thing. We feel that we're on track and that we will have that 95% participation rate. What this chart shows you is the breakdown of our current seniors and the number of Regents exams that they need in order to graduate in June and perhaps August. We do have plans in place to ensure their success. The students have been identified. Kent Baker and his team have created a phenomenal data dashboard which allows us to quickly identify those students who fit into one of those categories of exams needed. Action plans have been developed and student intervention plans have been developed. And again, those are more of our tier 3 students, and so those wraparound services with those caring adults in the building are in place, and we're monitoring those students on a regular basis. Next steps, review of student data in the RTI model for progress monitoring. That's happening once a week. We're developing, the development of a data dashboard is in place that identifies students at risk based on a variety of criteria right down to the student level. Small group tutoring with targeted student groups is happening after school. Regents reviews, classes on Saturdays during the school recesses are happening as well. And then we also know that we have approximately 40 students eligible to appeal their the Regents exams because they've taken the Regents exams at least 2 times, and the grades are between 62 and 65. So Dr. Wilkins can grant that appeal and give them credit in order to graduate. And staff mentors for identified seniors that fall within those categories of needing the Regents exams to graduate on time. Questions?
So Ms. McKenna and Mrs. Wilson-Turner, are you going to be doing the receivership? Are you the 2 people?
Yes.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do since we're out of time. And thank you so much for your presentation. We're going to combine questions for both and have everybody ask 1 question. Otherwise, we won't be getting out on time, and that's an important thing. So thank you for a very comprehensive presentation, and in the future what we'll do is it'll be incumbent on the board to make sure that staff knows that it is incumbent on us to read it beforehand, so that, and if we haven't and it doesn't inform our questions, that's on us. So we're going to have you go to the receivership update, and we'll move from there because we're out of time, but we'll extend if we need to at the other end.
So we know we have 5 minutes for this presentation, so this will be a brief presentation. So as you know,
once again, assume we've read it and
Yes,
just give
yes.
us highlights.
We
and
will.
if people haven't read it, then it's their problem.
Okay, so as you know, and this is more for the new board member, that we have 2 schools in receivership, Albany High School and Philip Schuyler Achievement Academy, and so this report is focusing on those 2 schools. The receivership structures that are the same for both schools, each school has an internal team that is monitoring on a regular basis the progress toward the demonstrable progress indicators. There's a community engagement team, and then there's also the reporting requirement. What's different? SAW has a continuation plan, which is based on the $500,000 school improvement grant, whereas the high school has a school's comprehensive education plan, and they have an $85,000 SIG-A school improvement grant. What's the same, but it's also different, are those indicators. So each school is required to identify at a minimum 10 indicators from level 1 and level 2. But those indicators are different based on the data from each of those schools. Those demonstrable improvement indicators remain in place for 3 years. If a school is removed from the priority list, then they will be removed from receivership, but it takes 3 years. Albany High School and SAW have met the benchmarks for receivership in year 1. Hopefully this is year 2, and after next year, they should be removed from the list. Highlights of the quarterly report. And I will talk about the high school, and then I'll pass it over to Cecily. So 3 highlights from the quarterly report. Departments and committees have established SMART goals and targets. They are actively monitoring their progress and adjusting and modifying the curriculum and instruction accordingly, which is reflective in their progress toward meeting those indicators. 100% of the staff, as of January, have been trained in the development of rigorous curriculum. All staff are speaking the same language, which is the foundation of the work, which means there's consistency in the curriculum that is being developed and implemented. And then the final highlight from the quarterly report at the high school is that teachers are meeting during common planning time and analyzing newly created benchmark assessments and adjusting and modifying the curriculum based on student and subgroup need.
The highlights for Schuyler Achievement Academy are around the 2 metrics that they are most proud of at this point in time, is that is their ELA growth and math growth for students in 3 through 8, or 3 through 5 for the building. Their target for ELA was 43.32%. They've already achieved the 50.5%. Their target for math was 37.99%, and they've already achieved 51% based on the January NWEA. So those are very promising metrics for them at this point in time, with 6 out of their 12 indicators being met at this moment in time. One of the 2 things that also to highlight is a key component of that $500,000 was the studio classroom model that has been sustained here at Schuyler Achievement Academy and is intricately woven into the instructional practices of the teachers. And is having a profound impact on student outcomes. Another highlight that I want to put in there is that the principal has increased his presence in the classroom with a focus on instruction to be able to better speak to what's occurring in studio classrooms and having conversations with the instructional coaches that are in the building, so that when it came time for mid-course corrections, he was more informed about how to make some of those changes alongside Michelle Bridgewater.
So progress toward those indicators. So Albany High School has 13 indicators that they're responsible for meeting or exceeding. At this point in time, we have met or exceeded 11 out of those 13, and we know that we are on track to meet or exceed the 2 that aren't currently meeting or exceeding the target. And those 2 are year 2 cohort passing the math regents by June, and the year 4 cohort, the poverty subgroup, so those economically disadvantaged students passing the ELA. And I say passing because you get partial credit for students who are at level 2, so partially proficient, by August of 2017. And we have action plans in place to ensure that those targets are met as well. And at the end of the presentation, I will give you a handout that just shows the great work that Kent Baker and Trish Wolf did on developing what they're calling the big metric dashboard, which is around all the metrics at Albany High School for receivership. And you'll see that most of the indicators are in green, so it's exciting.
So at Schuyler, the progress toward indicators, as I said, was 6 out of 12. And part of that is because the majority of the indicators in Schuyler's receivership are tied to the NWEA as a tracking metric towards how they will do on the state assessment. And so the areas where they are not giving themselves a green yet are around 3 through 8 math for students performing at level 2 and above, and 3 through 8 math for Black students at level 2 and above. However, there's 2 other metrics that jump out, and that is the priority status, which won't be determined until they take their state assessments, and that's determined. And the other one is teacher attendance, which is the metric that they missed last year. And it's a hard one for the building to swallow because part of their penalty around teacher attendance is their participation in professional development to get better at their instructional practice. And so that absence from the classroom counts against them. So John and I have had the conversation about keeping close watch on another dashboard that Ken and Tricia have created, which keeps track of teacher attendance so that they can make sure that their attendance is always accurate and recorded appropriately and can communicate regularly with the Human Resource Department. They have always and continue to target their level 1 and 2 students who are experiencing growth and provide them with additional resources as they go into testing time. And that means every adult in the building becomes a literacy and math instructor that provides additional support.
So our work is never done. Next steps. So we are in the process of implementing mid-course corrections. We're continuing to progress monitor for our indicators. We're meeting quarterly with our community engagement team and sharing out the great work that is happening during that quarter. We're reporting to the New York State Education Department, getting ready for the 3rd quarter in a few weeks. And I have an other up there, but that's really what our next steps are, which is a lot. That's it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're going to need more time. So, no, can I get a motion to extend for 15? How many people have questions? And we're talking one. How many people each have a question? That's a small little finger. That's one. Ms. Roach, Ms. Lang, one. You have a question? Ms. Lang, you have a question, I know. But you do. So, I mean, it's okay. So you have a question? So we're going to extend for 15 minutes. Well, if I can get a motion and a second, we're going to do that. Ms. Smith and Dr. Chatur, you're going to second it, and all those in favor? All those in favor? And that is unanimous. We're going to start now. Dr. Chatur, go.
This is going back to the second document that you had in your academic the plan, where you talk about the cumulative growth percentiles, and you've broken them by schools. So what's going wrong in some of these schools?
So it's not about what's going wrong. It's about, the distinction I tried to make is students are moving. So it's not that nothing's happening. It's not that students aren't growing. And so when you look at those, the charts that were projected with just the 4 categories, far below, below, at, and above, students are moving in those buildings in the right direction. What the conditional growth percentile measures are the students growing as much as they can be in a year's worth of time. And when we look at our data from last year, we were in the 20s and 30s and 40s. We had very few buildings who hit that 50 number and even fewer grade levels that hit that 60 number. And so our goal as a district is to continue to push our buildings to get at least to the 50 number, but more impactful, that 60 number. And so it's not that we're doing wrong. We're actually still trending in the right direction and trending positively. But our goal, holding ourselves accountable, is to get that at least 1 year's worth of growth for a year's worth of instruction that conditional growth percentile represents.
Thank you.
Ms. Roach.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you so much for providing this thorough data. One thing that I really liked was your chart on the 2013 high school cohort that really made what our graduation numbers are a lot clearer, to have that and to really spell it out clearly. I just had a question about the grade levels. I assume that for people that are still enrolled, that 9, 10, 11, 12 is their current status in this academic year, but then for the other categories, like for left school, no documentation of transfer, 8, for ninth grade that that was the year those students were, that was the grade level those students were at when they left school?
Correct.
Regardless of whether it was 2013, 14? Okay, and tell us more about 13, 14, 15. Would that be like a student with disabilities? Because you say below that students with disabilities are ungraded, so I wasn't sure what 13, 14, and 15.
So grades
denote.
13 and 14 are our ungraded students.
Oh, okay.
They are, yep. So those are the kids who are significantly cognitively disabled and qualify for the New York State alternate assessment.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I thought ungraded
And then
meant not a
15
number. It's
is
like-
a grade level that really isn't a grade level, but we use it. If you notice that the only time you will see students in grade level 15 are for those students who transferred to other high school equivalency GED preparation program. So that's
Oh.
our kids in the GED program, grade 15.
But what I'm confused about for that, though, is there's...
Ms. Roach,
sorry, it's the
we're
same
like
question, though.
question 3, really? It's like a
Sorry.
subpart 3.
Okay. Very sorry. Never mind. Thank
I'm
you very
so
much.
sorry. Ms. Lang?
So I'm going to ask kind of a global question for your action steps. Are you meeting what is needed to adhere to the action steps after you provide us with the data for the elementary, middle, and high school?
I'm sorry, say that again, Jen?
So you swip in, after you do the highlights, then you switch to the action steps. And I just want to make sure that, is there anything from us that you would like to be more robust, or that we should know about some of the action plans? Or is this exactly what you want to be doing and you're not missing out on something you would like to add?
I mean, I think this is a more global picture of the action steps. It's not the nuts and bolts or nitty gritty of how all of this work actually occurs. But I think these are the top things that are directly addressing the needs that sit in this plan. There are a ton of other action steps that I think are more long-term, that I mentioned briefly about, our sustainability, our ability to sustain the things that we put in place that we know work, but are, a costly investment. What I will say in terms of long-term, and Dr. Wilkins and I had this conversation this afternoon after me being on a state review for 3 days, our teachers need us to be consistent. They have been around the world and back 60 times with the things that we've attempted to introduce at the elementary level, to the point where we have limited their ability to make sound instructional decisions with confidence. I'm not saying they can't make those decisions. They are not confident to step up. Should I just stick with the book? Because now we have a book. And before we didn't have a book, and we had this, and we had this, and we had this. And so it's building that confidence and capacity back up into our teachers to say, you are the practitioner in this room. You know your babies. You make the decisions you need to make with the resources that you have in your hand. And so I could go on all day philosophically about all the other next steps, but what I'm realizing in this role is the importance of us having consistent, coherent, systematic approaches to instruction, so there's no question about what happens in a building when you go into a classroom. And when you go into one building, you can see something completely different in every classroom. And my mantra is always, there's an art to teaching and there's a science to teaching. And so there's some things that should be consistent and should be laid out and be happening, and then there's some places where you get to have some creative decision making around what needs to occur. And we have to be able to bring that back for our teachers on a more global perspective. So there's a lot for us to think about, I think, as an academic core at the cabinet level, as about how we're going to drive instruction in this district. I think we're on the tip of something really great with what we've seen and what we've put in K-1-2, but it can't always be about adding more resources, because we won't be able to always sustain adding more resources. So what is it really about in terms of next steps?
Mr. Bruce.
So that question is actually, or that answer is actually very similar to the question I wanted to ask, which is, I mean, there's a lot of stuff here, and a lot of efforts, and a lot of directions, and a lot of things to analyze, and one question really doesn't, fully get at it. So, I guess my general question is, if there's some little something or some big something that you could change, that you really feel like would make an impact, what might that be?
Stay the course. That's it. We just, so I can think back, and I've been in this district 16 years. I was a teacher, I was administrator. I've seen NUA come and go. I've seen studio classrooms come and go. I've seen things that teachers have hooked onto, understood, have implemented in their classrooms. it cost too much and it went away, or it had an impact somewhere else and it went away. And I don't think there's one silver bullet program out there that solves any problem. It's whatever we do, we stick with it, we do it consistently, we stay the course, we monitor it, we make the adjustments that we need. But what we can't keep doing is a stop and start and stop and start. We have to commit and stay the course.
Thank you for that question. Thank you for that answer. Ms. Smith.
And I really didn't have one, except that.
Then don't ask it. Give it to Ellen. Ellen's got a question.
Wait. But I want to go back to the two schools that have shown the significant improvement. What did they stay the course about? I mean, right?
So I think it's two different things.
Okay.
So for Sheridan Prep, the principal of that building is a former kindergarten teacher. She knows what that instruction is supposed to look like. She knows what she did when she was in a classroom by herself getting it done. So she is able to build that model with the support of a literacy coach who is also a former kindergarten teacher, knows what it's supposed to look like, can build that model. And so they have built this model that, like I said, should be the replica for the district, but it still needs to be scaled even within Sheridan Preparatory Academy. Whereas at Arbor Hill, that building principal has been building systems ever since we put her in that seat 9 years ago and we both became administrators. She's had to move a building. She's had to hire, 50% of her new staff. And what she has done in terms of sustainability and systemness, every person she's hired, she has, for lack of a better word, indoctrinated in what we do here at Arbor Hill Elementary School. So that instruction looks consistent across certain grade levels. And where it's not consistent, that's where she's beginning to chip away at. And so it's like I said, it's not the program, it's about how do you begin to systematize what you know works in a building. And it's not easy. I'm saying it like it's easy, let's just do it. It takes work, it takes buy-in, it takes capacity building for the staff.
Thank you. Ms. Savage?
The one topic that I don't see in some of the action steps that I would expect to see, and I imagine it's happening under the scenes, is more about family engagement. And there's really good evidence that family engagement is one of the driving successes. So can you just talk to me as briefly as you can about what we really do? And I'm particularly interested in high school because I know little about it. But also as about elementary. But I know that family engagement, even at the high school level, has a huge impact on child success.
So part of their school's comprehensive education plan is Tenet 6, which is family and community engagement. We recently hired a new family engagement facilitator at the high school. She started at the beginning of January, and we are in the process of redefining what family and community engagement looks like at Albany High School, because it does look much different than what it looks like at the elementary school and even the middle school. So that's a work in progress, and we'll have an update.
So I would say each school at the elementary school, even though they all have Tenet 6 in their SEPs, all approaches that work a little bit differently. What I will say, what I've learned about Tenet 6 and what we need as a next action step district-wide is our families are asking for help with the Common Core learning standards. And so one of the last reviews I did was Pine Hills, and they were about to do their STEAM night. And so what they incorporated into their STEAM night were hands-on activities where teachers will help parents walk through the most current lesson that they're doing in their class for Common Core learning standards. I've heard it over and over again on focus groups with parents across these reviews. And so as a next step around parent engagement, that's where it needs to be. Right now, our schools, I think, are focused on improving their two-way communication so that what gets sent home isn't just sent home and sits there, but there's actually some interaction. Some schools have asked teachers to target, find 3 parents that you're going to really engage this year and to start chipping away at it in that particular way. And other schools have, invested in volunteers, doing very targeted and focused work to help connect students and families. But to Vicki's question about the community schools model, a key component of that is the community schools coordinator, the homeschool coordinator, and the needs assessment that they will conduct to figure out what do families need for us to better connect with them to support the instruction of their students.
Thank you. I'm going to cede my question to Ms. Roach.
I don't have another question.
Oh, well then we finally caught up in time. Thank you both very, very much. Dr. Wilkins, the Minority Teachers NYU Steinhardt Teacher Residency Program.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am so proud to bring forward to you the new NYU Steinhardt Embedded Teacher Residency Program. I know the district has been looking for a way to diversify our teaching staff, and this is the beginning of that journey. So as we go through here, I'm not going to read everything because you had it, but this is about working with this wonderful institution in getting a residency program here at the City School District of Albany. As you see, it describes what this embedded residency program is really all about. It is a Masters of Art teaching residency program in partnership with NYU. And this is really a rigorous technology-based curriculum developed by this wonderful school to have full-time residency in the high-need urban schools to better prepare, retain, and advance teachers. I also want to add that we were lucky enough in the first 2 weeks in December to go down to NYU, myself, Deborah Marriott, and Lori McKenna, and we were there with 7 to 9 districts. And I must just add that we were the little engine that could, because we were there with Phoenix, San Francisco, Houston, Philadelphia. In other words, we were there with Syracuse, Rochester, and Buffalo, and we were the underdog with less than 10,000 students. The largest district had over 150,000 students, and I was the only superintendent in the room, and they were just shocked that I was there. I said, well, we're the little engine that could, so we're going to be there. With that, the value of doing this partnership is really rich. NYU has an opportunity to prepare teachers in our district to be effective practitioners. We also, in the Albany City School District, we would actually be starting with teachers day 1 in September and beyond. We will be building a strong learning community for these residency partner schools. We would increase the retention for the resident intern and teacher mentors, and we would begin the leadership of a national conversation about innovative teacher prep programs. The main thing on this one page is that the teacher candidate would be getting teaching credentials from NYU, a 1-year rich ongoing feedback coaching on the core practices, and a 2-year level understanding of your students in the community. Sorry. The responsibility and the roles. In here you see what the NYU responsibilities are. They will be helping, this is really one of the most important slides about the responsibilities. Recruitment of a diverse pool of applicants. They will screen the qualified applicants, the candidates. We will get a dedicated faculty to work with this program that would be here based in Albany with this cohort. They would have some significant scholarships on behalf of the candidates. They get professionally monthly developments for the mentor teachers that are working with these embedded interns. There's a wonderful curriculum design, and again, we're back into the best practices. As the district partner, we are going to ultimately select the residents once they're approved by NYU, because they have to get into NYU's program. So there is that whole part about you must have a bachelor's degree to get into the master's degree program. Subsidize a portion of the master's degree on behalf of the students, pay their resident interns for student face time. We're doing it in the building substitutes. We already need building substitutes. It's a good fix, and we're not getting upset with Bill, and Bill's not getting upset with us. So it's a win-win when it comes to the financial, because we have a need being answered with the substitutes. Nominate residency sites and teacher mentors. In other words, we have to pick the buildings that they would be in, as well as the teacher mentors that will be doing the work with these residents. Determine points of contact with the school district. Inform and nurture school leadership commitment. That's the building principles that support this program. And again, we're back into that national conversation. The responsibilities of the teacher candidate. Learn about our schools, our students, the curriculum, and district approach to support student success. They're going to have to invest in their education and master a set of core teaching practices, and they have a commitment beyond the first year to stay in the district for 2 additional years to become teachers. losing my place on here, I'm sorry. Okay, go back. Okay, there we go.
Do you want to go to questions?
I can stop if there's any questions right now.
I was going to say, we can just move to questions because you wrote a great report. The
Okay,
two of
are you
pre-
Listen, I'm
presented a great
ready.
report. I'm going to use you as a model, as a guinea pig. So
Okay.
we all read this. It was really terrific. Thank you for getting it up in
Okay.
time on board docs for the public and the board. And I'm going to go to questions. And
All right,
I
listen,
think I'm
thank you.
starting at Mr. Bruce is okay. So Ms. Lang.
Can I give this to anybody and
Yes.
say, do this?
Okay. Yes. Absolutely.
So I'm going
We're-
to get like 10 copies, and I'm going to, when I go into the schools, I'm going to say you, and you.
We are so excited about this. Deborah and I have already gone to a number of our staff members saying, listen, we got a program coming. It's coming down the pike.
So I just want you to know, if they're like, Jen Lang's been giving me this shit, what does this mean?
Okay.
You know, I want you to.
Yes. We are ready, Ms. Lang. This is so exciting for us to be included in this process and work with NYU. It is truly a blessing and an answer to a needed question. So we're very happy with this.
Thank you. Yeah, it is on board docs. Ms. Roach.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm what we talked about elsewhere, saying that this is a local program and nobody needs to go down to Greenwich Village in
Absolutely.
New York to take these courses. And also, I think as a district, we do need to have some selection protocol in place just in case a response to this greatly exceeds the number of slots we have available. Like, would we give priority to city residents? Would we give priority to current employees? That kind of thing, so that we can be fair about it if we do. Because I'm hoping that this really gets a lot of response.
We're excited about that. It's going to be hopefully year after year after year, so we might hopefully get a waiting list, so that would be really nice. But my first preference always within this district is the internal candidates first. If they qualify and they get in, that's what we're looking for right now. So I'm very excited about the prospect of getting some of our four-year degree folks who are sitting in non-teaching positions to get into teaching positions, because they're already part of the Albany City School District family. So this is the next step for them.
Dr. Chatar. Ms. Smith. Ms. Savage. I just wanted to, my question is more of, is it something you can make public right now on our minutes being taken down, the appreciation we have for the person sponsoring this, or is that supposed to be anonymous?
Well, the next step for us is really the MOU, because we want to
okay,
so the one thing I want to say, I opened up an email from one of the coordinators down from NYU, and they have already tiptoed up to SUNY Albany to start doing some recruitment at SUNY Albany. So we're going to start not tiptoeing, but stomping in the district to get this word out. But we really do want to get the MOU settled. So right now, the MOU went back to Steinhardt, and we're hopefully going to get that to you.
I'm talking about the fact that we have a benefactor. Is that
I'm talking
private?
about-
If it's not
Yes,
private.
it is private.
It is, okay,
Yes.
so then it's anonymous. Okay.
Right.
Then we will
It
just.
it might be public, but I want to get the information.
So
you
I
have
will
to sign
just,
off first.
I will just say that if at one point we're able to share who that is, that would be wonderful. And until then, I just want to say that there are people in the community who are very supportive of doing this initiative, and we are very appreciative and thankful to those people.
We are right. Our benefactor, we are in love. So with that, though, we have to bring forward to you the MOU, though. That has to go. Once that hit, everything's going to be open at that point. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Thank you, Dana.
Ms. Savage,
So-
discussion on policies.
It is my privilege as the committee chair of the policy committee to bring before you two policies to consider rescinding. We will not be doing that tonight. Tonight is discussion of this idea, and then the action will follow. I remind you all that we have 164 policies, so losing two would be a good thing in terms of trying to be able to maintain our policy manual effectively. These two policies were coming to you as a result of, you will all recall that we've been working with the New York State School Board Association to do a complete review of our policy manual, and these two policies were identified in particular as ones that are no longer necessary, and they are 60/30 and performance bonds. As we don't mandate performance bonds, we don't need this policy. And interest and unpaid taxes, this is not a necessary policy. It is passed each year as part of the tax warrant, so there's no need to have a policy on it. So NISBA recommends we rescind them. Mr. Hogan has reviewed this and also confirms their recommendation, and the policy committee has confirmed that we would like to do away with these, as has our legal counsel. So I put before you the idea of rescinding these policies, and I open that for discussion. If we want to do it, we will actually do it next time.
Dr. Chator? Ms. Roach?
Those sound like good policies to rescind.
Ms. Lang?
I agree. I was on the committee.
Mr. Bruce? Thumbs up. Ms. Smith? Thank you once again, Ms. Savage, and the Policy Committee for doing such great work. We are now on to board committee reports. Just anybody want to report? I know that one of the things that we instituted this year in terms of board committee reports was that people, it's already been actually in place, but it hasn't always been followed, is actually doing committee minutes. And so if, I know that each of the chairs knows that, so if you want to speak to whether there are minutes taken or how the meetings went, or Ms. Smith, do you want to lead off?
So last evening, we did have a facilities committee meeting, and as you know, that committee consists of Ellen Roach, Kenny Bruce, and myself, Mr. Hogan, and we had a couple of things that we were doing. A primary purpose was to review a draft report from DAC Consulting Solutions, whom, as you know, is doing our, oh gosh, I lost my title, Community Advocate, right, to ensure that we were able to increase the pool of perhaps underrepresented individuals and also minority and women-owned businesses in our construction projects. And so we did have a very, they presented their draft plan for this outreach. We proposed some questions and additions that we wanted to have them include in their report that will come to us at one of our future meetings of the board. We also spoke on a separate matter about the PLAs, and I actually just forgot the project labor agreements. Thank you very much. I'm getting there. And we did have a fruitful discussion on that as well. What I have done is I put together a brief set of minutes from the meeting last night. The committee has not had a chance, obviously, to look at them, having received them just maybe within hours of this meeting. And so I've asked the committee to get some feedback to us by next week. I might have said Wednesday if I'm not mistaken. I'll follow up with you. So the committee, I would love to have your feedback as soon as possible, and then we can make the rest of the report available to you, or the summary of our meeting minutes to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Roach. Was there an audit meeting?
No, audit meetings are traditionally quarterly unless there's some special need for an audit committee.
Oh, thank you so much. Is that it on committees?
Well, let me.
And policy meets next week? And, oh, government relations, I'm sorry, this is, yes.
So we haven't had a meeting, but we had a meeting right before the assembly members did come to speak. And I don't think that we will need to meet with them unless we move forward. However, we can still plan to meet with the chair of the Education Committee in the Senate and the Assembly in that. But I do think that the meeting of the Assembly members when they came was really a great opportunity to have that conversation. I think it was receptive, and I think that was our meeting.
Do you think that, does there, I know that in addition to meetings that you've also done some, wonderful outreach, Ms. Lang, do you think that there's anything left that either the committee or you individually or you with assistance need to do between now and when sort of the ink is dry, or have we pretty much,
I know that the district sent in our priorities in writing as well for the legislative session or the budget coming up. So I think we're okay on that track as well. But we'll have our meeting, we'll discuss, we'll come back, especially for what was said and what people took away from the Assembly members coming.
And I want to thank you again for your leadership on that committee and for all the work you do behind the scenes in helping us access funds and assistance, and support from government. Okay, board member items. Seeing none, discussion. No discussion. May I get a motion to adjourn? Dr. Chator and Ms. Smith has second. All in favor? And Mr. Bruce wasn't here. Thank you.